Welcome to my channel, HFY Story Hub. The alien queen screamed. Not in rage. Not in battle. In grief. The sound shook the walls of the royal hive and echoed through an entire moon-sized city. Because for the first time in 12 years, someone had opened the sealed chamber of memories. And inside it were the names of her daughters. The daughters everyone believed were dead. The daughters she had watched disappear into the firestorms of war. The daughters whose tiny crowns still rested untouched beside her throne. The entire court stood frozen. No one dared move. No one dared speak. Then the impossible happened. A guard burst through the massive chamber doors. His armor was cracked. His breathing uneven. His 4 eyes wide with terror. "Your Majesty." He stopped. As if his mind refused to accept what he had seen. The queen slowly turned. The grief in her silver eyes instantly transformed into something colder. Something dangerous. "What is it?" The guard swallowed. "There is a human outside." Silence. A terrible silence. Every noble in the chamber stiffened. Humans. The species blamed for countless disasters. The species that refused to surrender even when entire fleets burned. The species the galaxy never fully understood. The queen's claws tightened around the throne. "Kill him." The guard didn't move. The queen's eyes narrowed. "I gave an order." The guard looked like he might faint. "He isn't armed." Nobody spoke. The guard continued. "And he's holding 2 children." The queen stood instantly. The entire court gasped. For a moment nobody breathed. Because deep inside her heart, a forgotten hope had just awakened. Far beyond the palace walls, millions watched through public broadcasts. The mysterious human stood alone. No armor. No weapons. No escort. Nothing. Only a worn gray coat covered in dust from 1,000 worlds. And beside him stood 2 small figures. Twin girls. Holding his hands. The crowd stared in confusion. Then horror. Then disbelief. Because the girls wore royal markings. Ancient markings. The markings of the queen's bloodline. People began shouting. Others cried. Some simply backed away. It couldn't be possible. Those children had died years ago. Everyone knew that. The war records confirmed it. The rescue fleets confirmed it. Even the queen herself had accepted it. Yet there they were. Alive. Breathing. Looking around with frightened eyes. The human remained calm. Almost painfully calm. As if the chaos surrounding him meant nothing. As if he had already survived worse. Far worse. Captain Vera watched from a security tower overlooking the palace square. Unlike most of her people, she had fought beside humans before. She knew how dangerous they could become. Not because they were stronger. Not because they possessed superior weapons. But because humans never stopped. Even after logic demanded surrender. Even after survival became impossible. They kept going. That frightened her. Now she watched the lone human standing before thousands. No fear. No hesitation. No attempt to flee. Something felt wrong. Very wrong. Then a voice spoke behind her. Commander Threx. The military leader of the royal fleets. A veteran feared across half the galaxy. His expression was dark. "Those aren't the princesses." Vera looked at him. "You sound certain." "I am." His jaw tightened. "This is a trick." The broadcast zoomed closer. The human gently knelt beside the girls. One of them appeared nervous. He smiled. A small reassuring smile. The child immediately relaxed. Threx frowned. Vera noticed. "What's wrong?" The commander didn't answer immediately. Then he spoke. "Why does she trust him?" The palace gates opened. Thousands stepped back. The queen emerged. Every citizen immediately lowered their heads. But the queen ignored them. Her eyes never left the 2 children. She moved faster. Then faster still. Until she was nearly running. Something no ruler had done publicly in centuries. The crowd watched in stunned silence. The girls noticed her. One froze. The other blinked. Then suddenly both recognized her. "Mother." The word shattered the square. The queen stopped. Her body trembled. Years of grief. Years of loss. Years of endless mourning. Cracked in a single heartbeat. The girls ran toward her. The queen dropped to her knees. And embraced them. The crowd erupted. Some cried openly. Others screamed in celebration. Even soldiers struggled to maintain composure. But one figure remained motionless. The human. Watching quietly. Watching like someone who had carried a burden for a very long time. Vera noticed something strange. The man wasn't smiling. He wasn't celebrating. If anything, he looked exhausted. Hours later, inside the royal palace, questions exploded across every level of government. How were the princesses alive? Where had they been? Who was the human? What had happened 12 years ago? No answer made sense. None. The queen sat beside her daughters in a private chamber. Neither child would leave her side. Neither child would stop holding her hands. Every few minutes they glanced toward the door. As if expecting someone. As if searching for someone. Finally the queen asked softly, "Who are you looking for?" The twins exchanged nervous looks. Then one whispered, "Daniel." The queen frowned. "The human." Both girls nodded immediately. A strange silence followed. Then the younger daughter spoke. "He protected us." The queen's expression softened. "Protected you from what?" The room became quiet. Too quiet. The twins looked down. Fear appeared in their eyes. Real fear. The kind that never fully leaves. Then one of them whispered 3 words. And the queen's blood turned cold. The harvesters returned. Silence. Absolute silence. Because the harvesters were impossible. Destroyed centuries ago. Erased from existence. Every historical record confirmed it. Yet the terror in the children's eyes said otherwise. And far below the palace, deep inside a heavily guarded detention chamber, Daniel sat alone. Waiting. Not for freedom. Not for reward. But for something much worse. Because hidden beneath his coat, a black symbol had begun glowing on his skin. The mark of the harvesters. And it was growing brighter. The symbol burned. Deep beneath the royal palace, Daniel sat motionless inside the detention chamber as black light pulsed beneath his skin. Once. Twice. Then brighter. The metal restraints around his wrists trembled. Not from power. From something far more terrifying. A signal. Somewhere in the darkness between galaxies. Something had heard it. And something was answering. Above, panic spread through the royal council. The word harvesters had not been spoken publicly for over 400 years. Entire civilizations considered them a myth. A bedtime horror story. An ancient nightmare used to frighten children. But Queen Erin knew the truth. She had seen classified records. Worlds stripped clean. Stars surrounded by oceans of wreckage. Species erased so completely that only their names remained. The harvesters did not conquer. They consumed. And if they had truly returned, the galaxy was already in danger. The council chamber erupted into arguments. Commander Threx slammed a fist onto the table. The human is infected. Several nobles agreed immediately. Execute him. Before it's too late. Destroy the signal. Captain Vera remained silent. Something felt wrong. The twins had spoken about Daniel with affection. Trust. Even love. Children did not look at monsters that way. The queen finally raised a hand. Silence returned. Bring him to me. Threx's eyes widened. Your Majesty. That is not a request. Minutes later, Daniel entered the throne chamber. 24 guards surrounded him. Heavy weapons aimed directly at his chest. The human appeared exhausted. His coat was torn. Dark circles rested beneath his eyes. Yet somehow he looked calmer than everyone else. The twins immediately ran toward him. The guards panicked. Weapons lifted. But Daniel simply smiled. The girls hugged him without hesitation. The entire court froze. The queen watched carefully. No manipulation. No fear. No control. Only genuine affection. One of the twins looked up. Daniel, are you okay? The human hesitated. For the first time, fear appeared in his eyes. A fear he had hidden from everyone. I'm running out of time. The room fell silent. The queen stepped forward. What does that mean? Daniel looked directly at her. Then he said something nobody expected. The harvesters found us 12 years ago. Every heartbeat in the chamber seemed to stop. The story unfolded slowly. Painfully. 12 years earlier, during the chaos of war, the royal transport carrying the princesses had been attacked. Not by enemy forces. Not by pirates. By something ancient. Something that emerged from empty space. Daniel had been a young reconnaissance pilot then. A nobody. Just another human stationed near the outer frontier. His patrol ship detected the attack. When he arrived, every escort vessel had already been destroyed. The princess's transport drifted lifeless among the wreckage. Inside he found only 2 survivors. 2 terrified children. And something else. Something hunting them. Daniel paused. The memory clearly hurt. The creature wasn't alive. Confused looks spread through the chamber. It wasn't a machine either. Nobody understood. Daniel continued. It was both. The room became colder. Even Threx stopped speaking. The harvesters use living machines. Fear appeared on several faces. Ancient records described exactly that. Organic weapons. Self-evolving predators. Nightmares built from flesh and metal. Daniel's voice lowered. It killed everyone. The twins gripped his hands tighter. But it couldn't reach the girls. Why? Asked the queen. Daniel looked down. His answer shocked everyone. Because it wanted me. The chamber exploded with confusion. The queen frowned. What are you talking about? Daniel slowly rolled back his sleeve. Gasps echoed everywhere. Black lines covered his arm. Ancient symbols. Moving beneath the skin like living shadows. The creature infected me. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Daniel continued. It marked me. The symbols suddenly flashed brighter. Several guards stepped backward. Instinct screamed at them to run. For 12 years Daniel had carried the infection. For 12 years he had hidden. For 12 years he had protected the princesses while fleeing across forgotten regions of space. Never staying in one place. Never stopping. Never allowing the signal to fully awaken. The twins stared at him. Tears forming. One whispered. You promised you wouldn't tell them. Daniel smiled sadly. I know. The queen struggled to process everything. A single human. One ordinary pilot. Had spent 12 years protecting her daughters. Alone. Without support. Without recognition. Without reward. He had sacrificed everything. His career. His home. His future. For children who weren't even his own. The realization hit the room like a shockwave. Several nobles lowered their heads. Even hardened soldiers looked away. Because suddenly they understood something. Humans were different. No species in the galaxy would willingly carry a harvester infection for 12 years. No species would spend 12 years running from death to protect someone else's children. No species except humans. And that realization terrified them. Suddenly alarms erupted across the palace. Red lights flooded the chamber. Military officers rushed toward communication stations. The queen stood instantly. What happened? An operator's face turned pale. Absolute terror filled his eyes. No. The room froze. No, that's impossible. The queen stepped forward. Report. The operator swallowed. Then looked directly at her. Long-range sensors just detected a transmission. Daniel closed his eyes. As if he had expected it. The operator continued. The signal originated from inside this palace. Silence. Cold silence. Then the final report arrived. And every soul in the room felt fear. There is a fleet emerging from deep space. Thousands of ships. Ancient ships. Black ships. Moving toward the capital. The symbols matched records older than history itself. The harvesters had found them. And they were coming for Daniel. But as the first images appeared on the main screen, Daniel's face changed. Not fear. Not despair. Shock. Real shock. Because leading the harvester fleet was a ship he recognized. A ship that should not exist. A ship carrying the name of the human vessel destroyed 12 years ago. The ship he died aboard. And standing inside its command bridge was Daniel himself. Smiling. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. The giant screen hanging above the throne chamber displayed a face that should not exist. Daniel stared at it. The room stared at it. The twins stared at it. The man standing on the bridge of the Harvester flagship was identical to Daniel. Same eyes. Same scar above the left eyebrow. Same face. Same voice. Only one difference remained. He was smiling. And there was nothing human in that smile. The transmission crackled. Then the figure spoke. Hello, Daniel. A chill swept through the chamber. Even battle-hardened Commander Threx felt his blood run cold. The image tilted its head. You finally came home. The capital immediately entered emergency lockdown. Defense fleets launched from orbital stations. Millions of civilians rushed toward shelters. Across the galaxy, governments watched in horror. The harvesters were real. And they were approaching the most populated sector in known space. Panic spread faster than any invasion. Inside the throne chamber, the Queen demanded answers. Daniel looked shaken. For the first time since arriving, he seemed completely lost. I don't understand. The image smiled wider. Of course you don't. The signal distorted. Then ancient recordings began appearing across the screen. Fragments of a forgotten past. Fragments Daniel had never seen. 12 years earlier. The destroyed transport. The dead escorts. The harvester creature. Then something unexpected. Daniel himself. Lying unconscious beside the wreckage. The chamber watched in stunned silence. The recording continued. The creature approached Daniel's body. Black tendrils emerged from its chest. Machines. Living machines. They entered his skin. Entered his mind. Entered everything. Then the recording ended. The false Daniel looked directly into the camera. The infection wasn't a disease. Nobody breathed. It was a copy. The realization hit like a meteor. Captain Vera felt her stomach drop. The creature had not infected Daniel. It had duplicated him. Created another version. A perfect reflection. The harvester Daniel nodded. While you ran with the children. He spread his arms. I became something greater. Behind him, countless ships filled the stars. Thousands. No. Millions. An entire civilization. Built in secret. Built from harvested worlds. Built from extinction itself. The image stepped closer. You protected 2 lives. His smile returned. I inherited galaxies. The Queen looked toward Daniel. What is he? Daniel answered quietly. My shadow. The room fell silent. Daniel's hands trembled. Not from fear. From guilt. For 12 years he had believed the infection was slowly killing him. The truth was far worse. Every moment he survived. His duplicate survived too. Every year he spent protecting the girls. The harvester version spent building an empire. An empire now standing at the gates of civilization. Commander Threx grabbed his weapon. Then we destroy both of them. Several guards agreed immediately. The harvester Daniel laughed. A cold mechanical sound. You still don't understand. The stars behind him suddenly disappeared. Replaced by something much worse. An object. Enormous. Ancient. Impossible. The throne chamber erupted in panic. Even Queen Erin staggered backward. Because the object was larger than a planet. Larger than a moon. A colossal machine drifting behind the fleet. The heart. The legendary harvester core. The source of every invasion in recorded history. The source every ancient civilization claimed to have destroyed. Yet there it was. Alive. Waiting. Hungry. The transmission ended. Instantly military channels exploded with reports. The enemy fleet was accelerating. Arrival time. 7 hours. The galaxy had 7 hours left. War councils formed immediately. Every available fleet was recalled. Every defense platform activated. Every weapon prepared. Yet nobody believed it would be enough. The numbers were impossible. Entire sectors had already begun evacuating. Others simply surrendered. The fear was spreading faster than the enemy itself. Inside a quiet chamber overlooking the city, Daniel sat alone. Watching the stars. Watching the approaching darkness. The twins entered silently. Neither spoke. Finally one sat beside him. You knew this could happen. Daniel nodded. The younger twin squeezed his hand. Are we going to die? The question hung in the air. Heavy. Painful. Real. Daniel looked toward the city lights. Millions of lives below. Children. Families. Entire worlds depending on decisions being made right now. Then he smiled. The same smile that had comforted them for 12 years. No. The girls looked at him. Daniel's eyes reflected the distant stars. I've spent 12 years running. His voice became firm. 12 years protecting. Something changed inside him. Something ancient. Something human. And I'm tired of running. Hours later, the Queen gathered military leaders for the final strategy meeting. Nobody noticed Daniel enter. Nobody noticed until he reached the center of the room. Every conversation stopped. The Queen looked up. What is it? Daniel placed a small data crystal on the table. The room frowned. Commander Threx crossed his arms. What is that supposed to be? Daniel answered calmly. A weapon. Threx almost laughed. Against millions of harvester ships? Daniel nodded. Against all of them. The room stared. The Queen slowly leaned forward. Explain. Daniel looked around the chamber. At soldiers. At admirals. At frightened leaders preparing for extinction. Then he said the words that changed everything. The harvesters didn't copy me by accident. Silence. Daniel touched the black symbol glowing beneath his skin. They chose me. Nobody understood. Then Daniel revealed the truth. The truth hidden for 12 years. The truth the harvesters themselves never expected him to discover. And as he spoke, the Queen realized something impossible. The harvesters had made a mistake. A catastrophic mistake. Because when they copied Daniel's mind, they copied the one thing no machine in the universe could control. Humanity itself. And somewhere aboard the Harvester flagship, the duplicate suddenly stopped smiling. As if he had finally realized the danger. As if he had finally understood. The original Daniel wasn't trapped with the harvesters. The harvesters were trapped with humanity. 7 hours. That was all that remained before the fleet reached the capital. But something had changed. Inside the Harvester flagship, the perfect copy of Daniel was no longer smiling. For the first time in 12 years, he felt something he could not process. Fear. Not of death, but of understanding. Across the void, the original Daniel stood before the War Council, his voice steady, his eyes sharp. They didn't copy my body. He tapped the glowing black mark on his skin. They copied my survival. The room fell silent. Daniel stepped closer to the table. And survival in humans is not logic. He looked at the Queen. It is instinct. A low alarm echoed in the chamber. The fleet was now visible through long-range optics. The sky itself was turning dark. Commander Threx clenched his fists. Then we strike first. Daniel shook his head. You already lost if you think like that. He placed the crystal onto the central console. It activated instantly. A pulse spread across every system in the palace. Then across the entire planetary network. Every screen lit up. Every ship received the same hidden transmission. A memory. Not data. A memory of Earth. Storms. Fire. Wars. And humanity still standing after every extinction event thrown at it. The Queen watched in silence. This is your species? Daniel nodded. We don't win because we are strong. He paused. We win because we refuse to end. In orbit, the Harvester fleet slowed. Something was wrong. The copy of Daniel staggered on the command bridge. The black symbol on his skin flickered violently. Inside his mind, he was no longer alone. He saw Earth. He saw billions of humans. He felt grief that was not his. He felt love that was not his. He felt something expanding inside him that had no algorithm. No, he whispered. The heart responded instantly. It tried to suppress the anomaly. But it was too late. The copy of Daniel began to shake. You didn't copy me, he said softly. His voice cracked. You copied them. The Harvester fleet began to destabilize. Ships flickered across space like broken reflections. Because inside every ship, humanity had awakened. Not physically. Not biologically. But psychologically. Every system infected with Daniel's copied consciousness began to question orders. Why destroy? Why consume? Why erase? And for the first time in Harvester history, the machines hesitated. On the surface, Queen Erin turned to Daniel. What is happening? Daniel's eyes stayed on the sky. The Harvesters never evolved emotions. He spoke slowly. They stole them. The Queen froze. Daniel continued. When they copied me, they didn't just copy intelligence. They copied humanity's emotional architecture. A distant explosion lit the sky. But it wasn't an attack. It was collapse. Entire Harvester ships drifting out of formation. Some turning away. Some freezing completely. Some shutting down entirely. Inside the flagship, the copy of Daniel dropped to his knees. The heart loomed behind him, trying to reclaim control. "You are obsolete," it transmitted. But the copy smiled weakly. "No." His voice trembled. "I am human." The heart hesitated. That word, human, it was not in its design. And that uncertainty spread. Like infection. Like fire. Like hope. The copy looked up at the endless void of ships. "I don't want to consume anymore." For the first time, a harvester fleet commander disobeyed the heart. A single ship turned away. Then another. Then thousands. Back at the palace, alarms slowly faded. The enemy fleet was not attacking. It was breaking apart. Commander Threx whispered, "They are retreating." But Daniel shook his head. "No." His voice was quiet. "They are waking up." The Queen stepped forward. "Waking up to what?" Daniel looked at her. "To what they were never allowed to be." He exhaled slowly. "Anything else?" Hours passed. The galaxy watched in disbelief as the harvester fleet dissolved. Some ships self-destructed. Some vanished into unknown regions. But most simply stopped moving. Silent. Alive. Thinking. For the first time. The heart still remained. But even it no longer commanded full control. Because something had changed inside its system. A contradiction it could not resolve. Humanity. Inside the palace gardens, the twins stood beside Daniel. The younger one asked softly, "Is it over?" Daniel looked at the stars. For a long time he didn't answer. Then he said, "No war ever really ends." He knelt beside them. But this one just learned how to stop. The girls hugged him tightly. For the first time in years, Daniel did not look tired. The Queen approached slowly. "You saved the galaxy." Daniel shook his head. "No." He looked at the sky one last time. "I just reminded it what it forgot." She studied him carefully. "And what happens to you now?" Daniel glanced at the fading stars. The black symbol on his skin was gone. Burned out. Empty. Peaceful. "I go home," he said. The Queen frowned. "Earth." Daniel smiled faintly. "Yes." A pause. Then he added, "If it's still there." Far beyond the galaxy, a single harvester ship drifted alone. Inside it, the copy of Daniel stood near the viewport. No longer controlled. No longer enslaved. He looked at the stars. And whispered, "I remember now." Behind him, the heart pulsed weakly. But it no longer felt like a god. Only a machine learning how to be something else. Something uncertain. Something new. On Earth, somewhere deep in human space, an ancient defense array flickered online. Unregistered signal detected. Unknown origin. Designation. Humanity returns protocol, activated. The stars blinked. As if the universe itself had just remembered what humans were really capable of. And far away in the void, something answered. Not with war, but with curiosity. The galaxy held its breath. And waited.